A little hybrid. Today, with all that's going on in our communities, with the police violence, with the brutality, with backwards policies, with gentrification, with all kinds of criminalizations of our communities, oftentimes they say, but what is the solution? And so we're a think and act tank. We're a think and act tank. We what? Think and act.
Well, equity means to me that everybody should get the same amount, no matter what their demographics are, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from. If I'm African American, I should be able to get the same amount as someone from the white community, someone from the Asian community. And that's what this country is supposed to be built on.
So we have a presidential election coming up, and then guess what next year is? The mayoral and the city council elections, the municipal elections of next year. So we're in that sweet spot.
I am the sweet spot, right here.
And we're going to spend most of our time talking about the solution.
What can we do as a community, right, to curb this police brutality, to end it, and to have them respect us as individuals just as they do all other races?
We had to open up a dialogue between the police officers and the community.
They need to definitely go back to sensitive training. But the only thing they'll do is sit them on the desk duty until everything is over.
Okay, so I guess another solution you're saying is we need to make sure that they have continuous training when it comes to sensitivity.
So the police officer who lived in my neighborhood as I was growing up, he was able to actually communicate with all of the citizens in that community. He was able to develop a relationship with those. So when I was doing something wrong, he would actually say, hey, you know you can't do that. You know, there was never an attack. It was always an actual disciplining me in love.
You have to be part of that community in some sort of way. It's not a volunteer, it needs to be mandatory. Because if you don't know what I see when I see the police officers, with my son, I listen to my son. He says, I'm frustrated, Dad. I don't know when I leave the house if I'm going to come back home.
Is it possible to get police officers on board with programs like this?
They want to be involved. You know, they want to be invited to this. Matter of fact, his question was, why are you not inviting them? So I want to invite them. You know, so that's a great question.
You know, this conversation that we have on black crime needs to be taken out completely.
Yes, it does.
Yes. But we can't just say that we have to take it out of how we speak. We have to socially eradicate that conversation. Yeah. When people grow up, when young kids, when we raise our children, we have to make sure that conversation is not in the house, because it perpetuates. Black people are more prone to crime than any other race or any other gender or whatnot. And that's not the case.
So what we have to do is, when it comes up for these election times, like you said, we need to show up in numbers just like we did in the protest. And every time that the officers and the chiefs try to go away from and derail from the situation, we come in numbers. You can't avoid this, and we keep bringing it up, because what we're going to do is we need to force them to have that conversation, and that's the only way it's going to get answered.
That came and saw the frustration that showed up for that Black Lives Movement when you seen downtown polluted with people and signs.
Yeah.
That's how you need to go to the city council. Instead of stopping traffic, go flood City Hall.
Before last, what is the result of all this meeting with the mayor and the police chief? What is the result?
Just for the record, because I did go, it was really not good, honestly. It was just kind of like a vacuous portrayal to appease protesters. They gave them all a 2-minute limit to speak, so they didn't really have an active voice in what was going on. It was more so, we're going to pretend to do this to make you all feel a little bit. Then the next day, Kasumri goes on the news, and he has another police talk, and this time it's completely different, and that's for, of course, PR.
If 3 people need to be able to see a basketball game, but they're all of different heights, you have to make sure that each person has a box that they can stand on that allows them to see the game the same way everyone else can.
So I submit that once we get together as a community, we go sit down with law enforcement. And I'm not talking about Chief Turner. I'm not talking about Kasim Reed. I'm talking about the zone commanders. I'm talking about the watch commanders. I'm talking about the foot soldiers. And we embrace them to see what they actually need. We need to call it community engagement, not community policing. Because if you get to know your beat officer and they get to know you in their community, they will know you and they will be more invested in the community. They will be more invested in your children's lives. They will be more invested in your church life. They will be more invested in your communal life. So I think that those are sustainable.
Absolutely critical. The work that you've done, I mean, Griggs was not blowing smoke. I've been to a lot of community meetings, town hall meetings, that stuff coming out of this one, community engagement / policing.
But this internship has really helped show that being in the community can really change things, and working with the community, you can't always just say you want change and not be a part of change.
I realized, it's a big circle. I realized how important voter registration is, how people who would talk to me about things that they were going through, problems they were having, they weren't registered to vote. So I would often have to tell them, well, if you get registered to vote, then maybe you can help fix some of these problems.
And I understood throughout the summer was that the importance of understanding laws, because you never really know what they're saying, because it's written in a language that's hard for the average person to understand. But to understand those laws means a lot, because there's a lot of money passed around that could be used towards our community.
I've learned that it's important to stay work and come together.
I've been working with Stand Up on and off for about 3 years now. I started as a job, honestly, but now that I've got a better understanding and seeing the difference that it makes when you help the community, I really like to enjoy community activism work and social outreach and development. So it's great work to do. I want to see you do it.
I've lived in the West End for 3 years for college now, and I didn't know all of these legislations that they're trying to pass, or all of these things that they're trying to make happen in the West End, and half the time it doesn't really benefit the people that actually live in the area. And so I've learned so much, but most importantly I've learned what the meaning of being an active member in your community, and the meaning of conversing